Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back. I've got an interesting video for you. It is September 30th, 2018. Boy, this month has been crazy. I've been doing a lot. It's been a busy month. Out of state a couple of times. Work. So I'm here to do my September overnighter. As you can see, I'm very minimal on this one. I didn't bring a lot of gear. Got a tripod here. I've been walking around and it's been raining off and on a little bit. It's really settled down right now, but what I'm looking for, if you look at the ground, everything is damp. You can see the moisture, everything's wet. So what I'm looking for right now is I'm looking for a location where I can bed down for the night. I noticed while I was walking right over here, there's an area that I think is going to be very good for shelter tonight. First of all, you can see this tree here, this other one, and then this big tree. But more importantly is the debris. If you can see the color change, you can see that it's wet right here and it's dry right here. Plus, this area is a little higher than the rest of this, and it's dry. So this is going to be the location where I'm going to sleep tonight. I'm going to set up my shelter here. I just thought that this was a good area to set up my bed, my camp. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Any flashlights that you see, any light that you see in this video is courtesy of Sofern. I brought only Sofern lights. Let's get started. It's going to be fun. I wanted to show you very quickly what I've brought in my pack here. This is the gear that I'm going to be dealing with in this overnighter. This is a 9 foot by 12 foot 2 mil painter's plastic that I bought from Walmart. This is the plastic that was in the Princess Peach bug out bag that Justin and I never used. Miss Bella, the girls and I went camping and we did use this as a rain fly. So I've brought that. I have 3 liters of water. I also have the BeFree filter. I brought my Silky Big Boy saw. I don't know if I'll even need that or not, but I brought it. Here is my Cuisinart 2-quart pot. I've got 3 granola bars. I also have a small cup with 4 bags of oatmeal. This is just a bandana for water filtration or making charred material. We're using as a pot handle for cooking. I have a small amount of paracord. This is probably 20 feet. Another small hank of paracord, probably 10 feet. Got my Mora Companion Heavy Duty. A can of beef stew. This is a small blanket that I got flying on United Airlines. Just a small blanket, nothing crazy. I've got a tea bag with black tea, a fork and a spoon, and there's only one more item, and it's a bedroll. So that's all I have. That's all I'm bringing for this overnighter. Here's a look at my shelter for the night. What I've done is I've made what I call external grommets because there's no grommet points, no tie-out points on this tarp. I'll show you how I did that here in a second. So I made 4 of them. There's the third one back there. And then there's one over there. You can hear the rain just barely starting. So underneath here, this is the cover that I'm going to have. Plenty of cover. And the cool thing about this is I can take this area here, move it this way, and that wall will come down. I can also put a weight down on the rope on this back side, and that'll bring that down. And I can do the same thing here if I choose, in the event that I'm getting heavy rain. This is plenty of coverage. Way more than I'm going to need just by myself. This is enough coverage where I could actually have not only my bedding and everything set up, but I could also have a fire under here even if I wanted to. If I needed a fire under here, I could. If it's raining real heavy and keeps putting my fire out or something like that, I could probably dig a little pit here. Make sure that the pine needles are out of the way so that there's not going to be any chance of any spreading of the fire. But then, so as the smoke of the fire would rise, it would go up the pitch and out. So this is a pretty cool, very simple shelter setup. Again, all I'm using is 2mm plastic that I got from the painting department of Walmart. So that's my shelter. Create a thicker bedding, if you will. So I want more loft. So if I can have more loft, that's more of an insulation towards the ground, so heat loss through conduction ain't going to happen as easily. But this is a very simple shelter, very easy. On something like this blanket, if I wanted to make an external grommet or a tie-out point, I would take maybe a pine cone, maybe a stone, a stick, a handful of dirt if you don't have anything. But basically what you do is you take the corner here, and in our case we're just going to set the pine cone right there in the corner, okay, just like that. And then when the material goes around that, that gives me a point that I can tie off to. See that? And that's exactly what I did here. That gives me an external grommet. That's what I call them. I've used everything. I've used handfuls of dirt, I've used sticks, I've used stones. Pine cones work real good. They don't tear up the tarp too much. The one thing that I can suggest is not to pull the tarp too tight. You know, this is only 2mm plastic, so as long as you don't pull it super gorilla tight, you're gonna be fine. There's a look inside. You can see here that I've raised this thing quite a bit. This is going to be a lot of cushion. This is going to be a lot of insulation. It's also going to be comfortable. This is going to be a really nice bed for tonight. Very simple. I'm just going through right now and I'm getting rid of any hard sticks or anything hard like that. Now what I want to do with my bed is I want to take my blanket, my small blanket that I got. If you don't have a blanket like this, you can use your chamois. Just something, and we're going to put this over the material. Nothing too crazy. Just something to kind of make it a little bit comfortable. And what we want to do at this point is I always try to test my bed. I always want to lay on it first and give it a good test lay and see how it feels. Oh man. Oh, you guys, this is so comfortable. If you could only feel this, you'd be amazed. Feels like I'm laying on a mattress. Oh, I could take a nap right here. Whew, that's comfortable. So not only do I have good shelter above me that'll protect me from the rain, but I'm also comfortable not just by my body's core temperature, but actual comfort. If you don't have a blanket or something like that, don't worry about it. Not that big of a deal. Not much to it. Very simple, but very effective. Here's my bedroll. Go ahead and take it out of this thing. I'll tell you what, this has comfort written all over it. The only thing missing would be a nice pillow tonight. Well, we have this bag that our bedroll came in. Why not let's stuff this with debris as well, and we'll make a browse pillow. So I'm just taking pine needles. Nothing hard, just light little stuff. I'm kind of weeding out the sticks. Just using light pine needles. This is going to be a pillow for tonight. This is a very minimal trip, right? We're not using a lot of resources. I don't have to bring a pillow and all this extra stuff. I'm going to make one. If you had a trash bag or maybe a pillowcase or something, you could also use that. You know, you just fill it. And you could use pillowcases or trash bags and fill them with debris, and you could make a browse bag. Okay, and that means you got a lot of insulation factor in there, and you use that to lay on like a mattress. So you would fill those trash bags up with debris, put them down, and there's your mattress. So I'm avoiding all the hard stuff for my pillow. I'm avoiding the pine cones and the sticks. For my bed, it's okay, but for my pillow, I want a little bit more comfort. So that's what it looks like, right? Just tighten it up, draw the string, and fluff that thing just like any other pillow. And that's what you got. Nice little pillow for tonight. Oh man, we're talking about comfort. Oh my gosh. Whew. Man, this is a very comfortable bed. So the temperatures are also a key concern. Temperatures tonight on the forecast show between the high 40s and low 50s. So I should be fine. No problem. If it starts getting cold, the weather takes a turn for the worst, what I would need to do is just lower these corners and get this thing lower, and that'll keep my body's core temperature heat radiating back into me instead of dissipating out into the atmosphere. So I'm checking my bedding. Can you see me? Here we go. Where's my pillow? Oh man. That is, I feel like I'm a king. I feel like I'm just not going to be uncomfortable at all. This is so nice. This is what life's about, folks. Finding the simplest things and making them very nice for your, you know, your comfort and your convenience with simple things. I'm using nature to find comfort. Make sure that your feet are on the same level as your head or just slightly lower than your head. If you go to sleep and your feet are at a higher elevation than your head, it's going to rush all that blood to your head during the night, and when you wake up, you're going to have a very, very bad headache, a migraine almost. So I'm on a little bit of a slope anyway, so my feet are naturally lower than my head. And this bed is so comfortable. It reminds me, I mean, it feels like I'm laying in my bed at home. That's how comfortable this is. I could literally take a nap right now, no problems. This is so comfortable. So the only thing that I'll do before bed is I'll probably lower that corner down because I don't want the wind coming underneath it possibly and making me chilly during the night. Both of these 18650s are fully charged, and these 3 AAA batteries, they will use 14500s, but I'm not using 14500s. I just have standard AA batteries in them. So these are the flashlights. Any light that you see in this video, it's coming from one of these 5. Debris shelter. It's not complete. I'd say it's probably 90% finished. What I need to do now is I need to start at the very bottom and put a pretty good layer of debris, and then move up a notch and put another layer, and then up a notch and move, and then just keep going up until I get to the very top. Kind of like you would put shingles on a house. The reason for this stacking type method is because as the rain hits the top layer, it'll fall off onto the next layer, and then down. So it would shed moisture from the top down instead of going in the shelter. If you were to put debris on the top and then work your way down, you're going to have the shingles, if you will, for the lack of a better description, you're going to have them on backwards, and the water's going to come right down into your shelter. So I'm at the point now where I would start from the bottom and sew it up. This would make it waterproof for the night. Another thing that I would do is I would probably take this door and put some wood in there and fill that in and make that not a door anymore, and just use this for the door. And also on the floor, I would need to beef that up and put some insulation down there to break conduction. The walls itself will break convection or wind, and also it'll keep the radiation of heat back into the shelter. It's plenty big for one person for an emergency. Let's take a look. So if you see any of these air gaps, I would need to fill those in, because anytime you see an air gap in your primitive shelter like this, that air gap is bad. It's going to let cold in and heat out. So we would need to fill all that in. That's why I say I'm only about 90% done. But I just thought that I would come over here and play around with this. It's fun. It's a good project. The same things apply when it comes to slope and where you're choosing to make your location for your shelter. This location here, I didn't use any cordage. I used only natural materials from the environment, so it's not going to hurt anything. It's completely natural. I found this tree that had a V in it, and that V is what I laid my ridge pole into. And the ridge pole came down until it couldn't come down no more. The V was too tight. And that's what I was able to attach these rafters, if you will, to. And it's important when you make a debris shelter that you find a lot of stuff like this. This stuff is excellent. And leave all the little branches and stuff on. Because what's happening is when you throw the debris on top, the pine needles, the leaves, whatever the case might be, you need these so that they will create traction. They will grab things. And so a lot of stuff like that, and when you throw the debris on top, there's so many little veins and little branches and stuff going off that it'll grab the stuff and it'll hold it. And then you just keep putting a layer on top of that, a layer on top of that, until you end up with something like this. There's still a bit of work to do. You know, when I do these overnighters, I always like to come out and do some sort of skill, some sort of practice, whether it's making fire, whether it's building shelter, whether it's cooking, or whatever the case might be. I always like working on at least one skill set when I'm out, and this happened to be the one for this trip. So, well, I figured I would dig a small hole here and move some of these pine needles out of the way What I'd like to do right now is get a small fire going. Just a very small fire to cook on. So I want to warm up some of that soup. Now the fire making implement today is a Bic lighter. So we're just going to light these little pine needles and hopefully get a very small controlled fire. Nothing crazy. Very simple. I'm just going to use little sticks here. I'm not going to get it too crazy. All I want is something big enough to just heat up my food. Nothing too crazy. Everything is real moist, so it might take me a little time to get this thing going. Here's some of those pieces of wood that I used earlier when I was playing around carving. They'll probably go very well because they're dry. They were from the inner portion of the wood. So maybe if I can get a couple of those going, maybe I'll have success. I just want something really small. I have plenty of time, you know, to heat up my food. I don't need a big old rip-roaring fire. Something small. Something very conservative. So in the meantime, I'm going to get my pan here. And hopefully that fire will take off. I got some nice tea too. I'm going to try this Royal Cup tea. Orange Pekoe and Pekoe cut black tea. The soup of the day is the Dinty Moor beef stew. That's what I want. So that's what I'm going to heat up. Take my bandana here. All I need is something just enough to heat up this food. That's it. Nothing crazy. Last time when Justin and I did the overnighter last month, I had the forks and spoons and I drilled holes in them here and then I just attached them to a small piece of paracord. Nothing too crazy, but just something, a fork and a spoon, because I'm always carrying a knife. So here we go. There is the beef stew going on the fire. A very small one for that matter. There's plenty of airflow underneath the fire, or underneath my pot rather, to keep this fire kind of going. And I moved the pine needles and things away. And these are good little flashlights. They're very bright. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to drink some water and eat my food. Probably gonna call it a night soon. I'm getting a little bit smoked out here. I like these things probably on the medium setting. They seem to be working pretty good, so good little flashlights. It's kind of nice to have light out here. Yeah, look at that. That stuff looks ready to go. Nice and hot. Oh yeah. That stew is ready to eat. So I'm going to get to eating. That little fire and that little pit worked perfect for heating up this stew. So we're just doing a little water filtration right now for in the morning. I like staying hydrated out here. I'm using the Katadyn BeFree. This is a 0.1 micron filter. This is the filter that I've used all year long on every overnighter that I've done. And I'm just doing this last thing before I go to bed because I want to make sure that I have plenty of water for in the morning. The flow rate on this filter has really slowed down the more that I use it over the year. It's not like a Sawyer where you can back flush it. Now BeFree says that you can do a shake and a swish, but honestly those don't do much for back flushing. Sawyers, in my opinion, are still the best water filters, hands down, that there are out there. So this one works good. I'm not going to knock it. I mean, in the beginning, when you first get the BeFree, the flow rate is very fast. But when you use them, like I do, every time I do an overnighter, I filter at least 3 liters of water. So there's just, you know, like the Sawyer, you have the ability to get that flow rate back, and on this one you just don't. But they're good filters. I'm just saying it's not a Sawyer. So I'm just getting this water done. And after I finish this, I'm probably going to lay down and get ready for bed, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit tired. I've tried to do their shake and swish, and it just doesn't have the same effect that back flushing has on a Sawyer filter. It's not the same. It's not apples and apples. I'm just cleaning this pot. I put a small amount of water in there. Hopefully you can see this on the camera. Small amount of water, not much. And I'm just washing the sides of the pot with my hands, just loosening everything up while the water is in there. It doesn't take much to clean a pan this way. And then of course the water that's dirty is going to be poured into the fire. Use my bandana to clean out my pot, and that's it. That's it for tonight. That's all I have to do. Very simple. All these little dots that you see, those are water spots. They've been on this pan for a long time. So that's it. The pan is clean. Well, folks, I'm going to call it a night. I've got my socks and my shoes off, and I'm laying in my bedroll. Today was just a fabulous day. I had a great time. I had a really good time today. I enjoyed it. Got rained on quite a bit. Nothing heavy, though. Just real light rain the whole time. I got done eating, and it's always good if you can to eat before you go to bed. That way, especially if it's cold temperatures, that gives your body something to process. And what that does is that helps you stay warm. I'm definitely checking out my pillow here. And I've got my bandana kind of wrapped around the pillow. My socks and shoes are off. My feet are slightly downhill. I banked the fire with pine cones and some small twigs. I don't know if it's going to last all night or not. We'll find out in the morning. If not, no problem. I can still make a fire. But man, the temperatures are good. It's not cold or hot or anything like that. The temperatures are great. I really had a good time today. A lot of fun. And now it's time to settle in for the night. And I'll see you guys in the morning. Good night. I love y'all. See you in the morning. Good morning, everybody. I slept great. It rained all night. The canopy that protects this area, along with this 2 mil plastic, worked fabulous. Even, I'm looking off here, even under the canopy it's all wet, so the shelter worked good. I got up in the middle of the night and I heard some sounds, and I tried to decipher what those sounds were, and what it ended up being was elk bugling off in the distance, because it got closer and more recognizable, the sound. I'm so happy right now. Very happy. There's no place I'd rather be. The only thing missing is Miss Bella and the girls. I wish they were out here, but Unfortunately, sometimes our schedules don't mesh together. The bed was very comfortable. Temperatures were excellent. In fact, you can see I'm in a t-shirt. I had to shed my coat. I was getting too hot. Got up this morning to set a camera for a time lapse, and I realized after the battery had completely died that time lapse just stayed black the whole time. I was disoriented as far as what time it was. I thought that the sun was going to come up and I was going to get this magnificent shot, but that didn't happen. The rain is so nice. I love it. I really do. Living in the Southwest here in Arizona, we're always praying for rain. You know, it's such a dry state, and when we get rain like this, it's very, very much appreciated. Looking off in the distance over here, kind of over my shoulder, you'll see the rain's really coming down. You know, for it to be making this kind of sound, even under the canopy, you know, it's really coming down out there. So my objectives for the morning are very simple. I'm going to get up, I'm going to break camp, and after I break camp and get everything put away, where it's not going to get wet, of course, I'll probably go check out the debris hut and see how it's doing. And when I say how it's doing, I'm saying, is it dry inside? Is it wet inside? How did it turn out during the night? The camera that I'm filming with is actually malfunctioning this morning. Normally on the side of the camera there's these up and down buttons, kind of like this. There's an up and down, and those buttons aren't working. So for me to switch modes to get to other filming options and to review back the footage that I'm filming and things like that, that's not working. Those buttons, I don't know if it's the humidity of the air or what, but those buttons aren't working. The fire that I banked last night, the coals are cold to the touch, so I think I actually put it out more than I banked it. I kind of had a feeling that would happen last night because I didn't have a really solid coal base. It was such a small fire last night. So it is what it is. Drank about half of my water. My feet are comfortable. I mean, temperatures, the bed, the pillow, everything was just on point. So yeah, time to get up and start breaking camp. You can really see the rain coming down off in the distance. But I'm perfectly dry here under this canopy, under this shelter. Really coming down. I love it when we get rain, because here in Arizona we really need the moisture. And looking off this direction. So the flashlights last night, it's kind of interesting. I only used 2 of the 3. Well, I had 5. When I say 2 of the 3, I'm talking about 2 of the 3 AA's. I used the SF14 version 2 and the SP10 version 2. And the difference between these two, I like the 10. This thing is cool because it has just a side switch and it has a much lower moonlight mode. This one does. This is a good little flashlight. The other one works good too. They're both bright, same brightness level, but this one, I don't know, the function just works a little better. So that's the one I use mostly. Guess I'm gonna get my little sweater on and start breaking camp down. I slept really good. Probably having a bad hair day, huh? Thank goodness there's hats. So that way I feel a little more comfortable. Temperatures are good right now. It's just a little chilly, but not bad. Get my shoes on and start the day. Put my socks on. I slept with no socks or shoes, obviously. So in the morning, you always want to check your shoes, make sure there's nothing in there. No little creepy crawlies in there. Just pine needles. That's it. Pine needles are okay. So I'm going to get my morning started. Start breaking camp. Now here's a look at my camp, where it was. I got everything tore down. You can see my bed here compressed down. So I'm just going to go over here and just kind of spread some of this out and make it look like nobody was really here. That 8 inches of loft compressed down to about 4 inches, maybe 5 inches. I think we'll go take a look at that debris hut now and see how it held up. Is it dry in there? Is it wet? Who knows? We're going to find out. Well, there's the back side of the debris hut. Let's not forget that I did not finish it completely. It was at 90% when I left. So let's take a look at the sides. I see some holes. That's to be expected. Let's go inside and see what it looks like in there. Wow, looks dry. Very dry. That's pretty cool. Wow. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's very, very dry in here. And it's been raining pretty much non-stop. This is pretty cool. You know, for something that didn't even get finished, I'm surprised pleasantly. It's pretty cool. It's very dry. I could totally stay in here out of the rain, no doubt about it. That's interesting. I would have thought that it would have been like wet on the floor, but it's not. The floor is dry. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy how you can do something so simple, so primitive, but yet it's effective. That's pretty cool. I'm out of here. There's my debris hut. Turned out pretty good. It was very dry inside, even given all the rain. If you look at everything around me, everything out here is wet. But I want to say thank you for joining me on this overnighter. This was, I got something hanging on my hat. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this overnighter. I just wish I could have done it earlier in the month, but September was just crazy month for me. I hope that you got some good, useful information out of this video and that you had fun. I know I certainly did. The rain was a little bit of a challenge, but nothing that we can't overcome. I'm looking at my pants right now. They're wet. My shoes are wet. But that's to be expected. You know, when I had the shelter that I had and wearing these types of pants, these things dry very quickly. In fact, last night I got wet and they dried before I went to bed. So again, thank you for stopping by. Please feel free to leave your comments down below, like this video, and until next time, thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a beautiful day. We'll see you in October.